So in this video, Nouman Ali Khan makes 2 points, and just to make it clear that I actually really like Nouman Ali Khan, so this is not an attack against him, but I do think that he's wrong on both of these points. So let's have a listen and I'll share my thoughts with you.
Your money is basically hers, and her money is hers, and you can't look at it. You can't keep your eye on it. You can't say, whatever happened to that? What happened to that jewelry? What happened to that? No, that's not yours to touch. That's not yours to touch. And whatever you gave her, like you say, hey, on our 10th anniversary, I'm going to give you this car. That, once you gave her the car, it's her car. It's her. You can't even take the keys and say, I'm going. No, you got to get her permission. And she better give it on her own good free will. No pressure, not even unspoken pressure that you can touch that car because you gave it up. And give women their gifts happily and freely. You don't even think about them again. Don't even think about them again. So this financial sense that men are supposed to have is critical, and Allah mentions that as one of the first conditions of what makes a marriage work. What makes them men. There are people who give mahar, they give marriage gifts, or even at the wedding ceremony, they give lots of presents, and then a couple of days later, the guy's family says, hey, can we have those back? We need them for our daughter's wedding. Once you give it up, you've given it up. It's done with.
Okay, so he mentions a few things here, and I don't have a problem with all of them. So him saying that once you give them a gift, it's theirs. That's true, but that works both ways. I think that's a universal rule. Anyone that gives somebody else a gift, whether it's from a friend to another friend, or husband to wife, or wife to husband, once you give a gift, you don't ask for that gift back. It's a gift and it's gone. It belongs to the person that you've given it to. He also mentions that in some cultures, they give a mahar and then the families request the mahar back. Personally, I've never come across such a thing. If it does happen, it probably does happen in the villages back home, in the developing countries, but it's certainly not something that I'm aware of that takes place in the West. Now, the thing that I do have a problem with, so the first point that he made that I have a problem with is what's yours is hers and what's hers is hers. I don't know why so many da'is and preachers propagate this, because as far as I know, it's got no basis in the deen. And I've actually never heard any evidence or come across or seen any evidence. People just like to say it like it's a soundbite because I think it makes them look good, it makes the religion look good, and it makes the women happy. But there's nothing in the Quran or the Sunnah that suggests that a man's money belongs to the woman. Now, yes, the man has a responsibility to provide for the woman. And as far as I understand, that obligation is to provide for her the same way you would provide for yourself. So as long as you provide for her a decent means of sustenance, food and clothing, shelter, that's good enough. And, she hasn't got access to your credit cards or to your bank account. And it's true the other way around as well, that the man doesn't have access to the woman's bank details or bank account. The only difference is the man does have an obligation to provide for her, whereas she doesn't have that same obligation towards him. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this is because I think it's a toxic idea. When you start telling women that the man's money is her money, that it belongs to her, what that does is it sets up an expectation that's not realistic and has no basis in the religion, but nonetheless it's an expectation. So the woman now expects the man to provide and offer things that maybe he doesn't want to, or he thinks that are unnecessary, or he can't provide. But she's gonna feel like, I have the right to these things. So that's the first point, that your money or the man's money is her money, and her money is her money. Yes, her money is her money, but his money is his money. It does not belong to her, though he has the responsibility and the obligation to provide for her. Now, in saying that though, does it mean that he cannot behave or choose to share his money as if it belongs to them both? Because what you'll find in the West, a very common scenario, is that both men and women are able to work and have the opportunity to work. I actually know some families whereby the woman has the potential to earn more than the man. Now, in a situation where both men and women can work, if between them they agree that the woman will stay at home because they've now got a small family and she'll look after the family and look after the home, if she makes that decision and she sacrifices going out to earn her own money, then as far as I see, it makes sense for them to have an understanding between them that actually the money that he earns belongs to them both, or at least they treat it in that way, because she's made that sacrifice. She could otherwise get a job and work and have her own money and independence, but she chose to sacrifice that to look after the house and raise the children. Personally, that's how I run my household. Although I believe Islamically my money is my money, I choose to behave, or I choose to live with my wife with the understanding that actually this money belongs to us equally. Whereas in the past, that wasn't the case. Women did not have the opportunity to work, so men were the sole providers. In that scenario where a woman didn't have the opportunity to earn her own money, it doesn't really make sense that the man has to earn his money and then it somehow belongs to her. So that's the first point.
Now let's flip to the other, and the sisters that are listening to this right now are like, yeah, finally a khutbah about team ladies. Well, you know, wives are the source of ending all conflicts in the family. They are a source of peace and reconciliation. They are the reason tempers go down. They are the reason voices are lowered. Women control the emotional temperature of a household. They control it. And they better keep it cool, because this is an act of them obeying Allah Himself. This is out of their eagerness to obey Allah. They need to become a source of calm.
Right, so this is the other point that I strongly disagree with. Here Nouman Ali Khan is putting the burden of keeping the peace and the calm upon the woman. And personally, I believe that that responsibility lies on both the husband and wife. It's a mutual thing, it's a partnership, it's a relationship. In fact, if that burden was to be placed upon one person over the other, I believe that that burden lies more heavily upon the man, because the man is the leader. He leads and the woman follows. And if you set the right pace, if you set the right direction, then the marriage will go in that direction. And I'm not speaking just upon what I've seen and what I've learned, but I'm speaking from personal experience here. In Islam, it makes no sense to me that that brothers and sisters have this idea or this belief that the men are the leaders. Yet, when it comes down to the success of the marriage, somehow the women are blamed. And I see this a lot. It doesn't make sense to me. As far as I'm concerned, if the man is the leader, then the burden of responsibility of the outcome and success of the marriage lies on the man. Now, when you say the woman controls the temperament of the house, again, that's not based on anything. That's not based on Quran. It's not based on Sunnah. It's not based on psychology or any research. I think that's just anecdotal experiences. And it's dangerous to set a precedent based upon anecdotes and people's stories and experiences, because actually women tend to be more neurotic than men. So women tend to feel more negative emotions than men. Women have their monthly period. Women give birth to children. Women are built a little bit more emotionally. And according to psychological research, women are more neurotic. They feel more negative emotions than men. Now, if that's the case, then it makes sense that women would, feel more frustration or more anger or upset or whatever it is. The point is they'd feel more of those emotions. When they do feel like that, those kind of situations can often turn into conflicts. Now, if the man is number one, the leader, and number two, if he's not feeling those negative emotions, then really and truly isn't it up to him to diffuse that situation? If a woman is having her PMS, for example, and she's irritant, and the man comes home late from work for whatever reason, and she starts, having to go at him for that, it's easy to turn around and say that woman is misbehaving or is acting up. But if you understand that actually her body's going through a lot, and she's PMSing and she's feeling very neurotic, if that man is a true leader, if that man is the one that's more calm and collected, then he's the one that's able to defuse that situation, not her. And normally what happens is men react to women when they feel neurotic, and then women feeling how they're feeling will react back, and then it kind of bounces off each other and escalates into a much bigger conflict. So again, the reason I'm mentioning this is because when you say that the women are responsible, you're first of all taking off the burden and the responsibility of the men, who are half of that relationship. But also, if you're going to preach that the men are the leaders, it makes no sense to take that responsibility off of them completely. But also, I think it puts an unfair pressure on the women, like it's their responsibility. I think we live in a culture and society whereby we put too many expectations on women. Like they have to keep the peace, they have to be the obedient ones, they have to be the ones that sacrifice themselves for everyone else. So many expectations, which according to some psychologists and some therapists, actually affect the woman, especially in our communities, very negatively, because they tend to live for everyone else other than themselves. So again, this is not an attack on Nouman Ali Khan. I like him and I respect his views, but in these 2 points, I do feel like he's wrong. And if you've got anything to counter what I'm saying, I'm more than interested to hear your views, your opinions, and the evidences to back up what he said and to be corrected. So yeah, thank you for listening. And if you haven't, please like and subscribe.